Okay, go ahead, John.
Okay, good morning. November 5th, we are here at our Economic Development, Historical Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee. And are there any concerns or comments from the public this morning?
I didn't receive any.
All right, very good. Laura, did you take attendance? Do we have everybody noted?
No, I'll just call who I see. So I've got
All right,
Matt Yetto, Kevin Walsh, Dennis Brennan, Supervisor Syed, Paul Briggs, Dart Strayer, Isma Alam, Councilwoman McGraw, morning, Clark Henry, and Chairman Delarada.
very well. And that brings us to, I believe, our minutes of August 6th, 2020. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, or alterations to those?
I just want to state, hopefully you can hear me okay, that I'm going to abstain. I wasn't present that meeting, but there is a typo on the last page. It says the next meeting is also in August, and that should read the next meeting is September 10th. Just for typo.
Very well. Anything else? I will make a motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? And I believe that passed unanimously. And then that brings us to the September 10, 2021 minutes.
Again, sorry, I do have one comment. I was present for that meeting, and I was quoted in line 86. And I checked the video. I'm not listed as an attendee of the meeting on the front page, so I'd like to have that modified.
We can fix that.
And with that, I'll move for adoption if nobody else has any comments.
I'll second that.
Are there any opposed? And that passes unanimously. How are we doing on our COVID updates, Laura?
So we don't really have any changes for our COVID updates. The hybrid meetings have been working really good. And I don't think anything has really changed since the last time. I think we're just proceeding as we are for the time being.
Okay, so these meetings will continue like this until further notice. Yes?
Yep. I mean,
All right.
we said this before, like I would like for it to always be an option at like planning board and zoning board, because sometimes there's applicants there who are from out of state and things like that. So always having that option, I think, would be great.
I totally agree. All right, what's next?
So next up we have, oops, sorry, my computer is like, stop. Our resolutions. You guys took action on the resolution at the special meeting last night to accept the grant money. So our Conservation Advisory Council, mostly Ashok, worked really hard on a proposal to the Niskayuna Community Foundation to fund a mini NRI. And the benefit of that is that we could get going right away, and we can delineate all of the open spaces, and it also probably would fit good into the comprehensive plan, even just as a mini NRI. And then that's a leverage for grant opportunities to do a full-fledged NRI, which is probably more on the order of $10,000 to $15,000. But this one gets us started and then puts us in a really good position to do the full thing once we've completed the initial. So
Excellent.
And then I know we're doing this meeting after our agenda meeting, but the only thing I have for the regular meeting at the end of the month is we have the public hearing for opting out of the retail cannabis dispensaries and on-site consumption licenses. And so just because there has to be that public referendum, like I would recommend putting at least a tentative resolution on there, adopting it so that the timeframes are still good.
I thought that was coming out of the Public Safety Committee.
It's joint. I've missed the Public Safety Committee this month, though.
Yes, we did ask for a public hearing out of the public safety, and I think we scheduled it.
Yeah, yep, it's
Yes.
scheduled for the end of the month. Yep.
Okay. All right, very well.
So, okay. So, just because my computer is being so odd, I'm really having a hard time connecting in right now. We're gonna skip the presentation. We can do that at our next meeting. Sorry about that, guys. But I mean, essentially, Clark, do you just want to say quickly?
Sure. Just very quickly, we were going to give a little update on the Architectural Review Board. There are 5 projects that are currently in the build stage, so they're very active with the Architectural Review Board. And there's 2 projects coming through the Planning Board. So the Broken Inn at the Co-op Plaza, the exterior awning and signage has been reviewed and approved by the ARB. Kelt's Farm, there's a building permit for 1 single-family home that's been reviewed and approved. There are 9 other single-family homes that the building permit plans will be reviewed by the ARB to make sure they all kind of blend together. So there's 9 single-family homes to come and 7 twin townhomes. They still have to be reviewed by the ARB. The overlook at the corner of Troy Road and Shannon Boulevard, that was another very visible subdivision. We've received 2 building permits for 2 of the 3 new building lots. So the ARB is looking at those to make sure they match the surrounding neighborhood. 3410 State Street, we're working with the applicant to break up some long facades on the building with faux windows. And on 1380 Van Antwerp, there's also a subdivision with 3 new single-family homes that will be reviewed by the ARB. Then 2 other projects, 2147 Eastern Parkway is still under review with the ARB, as well as 1356 Balltown Road. So there's a lot of activity, and the board has formalized their type of submission package that they like to see from the architectural or from the applicants, a colored rendering and some detailed cut sheets defining the type of shingles and siding and things like that. So it's coming together, and they're getting a little more definition as to what they would request from applicants. So that's it. More.
Thanks, Clark. So I have a couple discussion items for our agenda meeting this morning. The first one is the building safety and adopting a code of conduct. We've had a couple near misses in our departments of pretty angry or threatening people that have come in, and it's been difficult to make them leave. And we don't really have a great procedure for like how to get them out of the building really when they're beyond control. So I know that when the first one happened, like Isma and I had talked about potentially adopting a code of conduct, which we could kind of post on the, each one of our departments that works with the public has like a piece of plastic now because of COVID, but you could just post something right on there that has rules of conduct. And if somebody starts to get out of control, we can just say, hey, we have these rules of conduct. You're not currently able to meet them right now. You need to step out of the building and come back maybe when you're a little bit more ready or something.
Laura, how many times has this happened in well, let's say this year?
Well, I mean, I would say people come in angry, right? There's been 2 that have been very alarming. Like one was on Wednesday and the whole building came out. The guy was yelling so loud. And I think multiple people felt very threatened and afraid of this.
Just
situation.
this week?
Yeah, we had one this week. That's why I put it on the agenda.
Okay, I did not know about that. I know of one that happened previously, I think by one of our builders, but I didn't hear about the one on Wednesday. What happened?
He was cited by the building department because for building without a permit, structure without a permit. And unfortunately, even if you come in and get a building permit, it still requires a variance because of the where he put it. So he just didn't respond well to that information, really. I mean, usually something like a fence permit or something like that doesn't put somebody over the edge. So I would guess that there's more that's going on in his life than just a fence. But just, you know, I mean, screaming, swearing, throwing things. He threw his mask at one of us. Wouldn't go down the stairs. And then we didn't have anything in place, you know, to keep him from coming back in, or like having, you know, somebody
Right.
like patrol the building and tell everybody that everything was fine and it was safe. So I just think protocols so that everybody understands, you know, what can be done when somebody's behaving like that, how we can keep them, you know, how we can get them to leave in an orderly way, like when we press the panic button, like all that stuff, like how we handle it. I just think procedures like that are timely
Well,
because I mean,
shouldn't
quite
you have-
honestly, it hasn't happened in years, but it's happened twice in the last month or two
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah. Well, shouldn't you have called the police? And that's in Wednesday's situation. That
John,
sounds like it's criminal.
Laura, three of us downstairs called, pushed our panic buttons. This is Michelle.
Yeah.
It was very disturbing, and we were really concerned with Dottie sitting right there at the receptionist desk. We made sure she came immediately into our office. And this doesn't just happen in Laura's department. We unfortunately get a lot of very upset people coming into my office. It's usually not residents, it's people coming in for birth certificates outside of town residents. But the other day it was very, very disturbing to everybody. So it's not just upstairs, it's still.
In hindsight, Laura, do you think the police should have been called in Wednesday's situation?
yes, definitely. I mean, essentially
Alright.
they were, but towards the end of the conflict.
Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as we heard the yelling, John, we did push our panic buttons.
But like something even like, yes, like Clark and I discussed it. Like as soon as, you know, like you can try and calm them down once. I'm pretty good at calming people down, but that one I was not able to calm down. If, you know, you try once and it doesn't work, then press the panic button and have the police
What-
come. Yeah.
Okay, is that what the panic? Oh, I'm sorry. Is that what the panic button does? It notifies the police department?
Yeah. Although we don't even practice. Like at my old job, once a month, like it would be on, you know, the secretary's calendar. She would pick up the phone, call dispatch and say, I'm pressing the panic button. Dispatch would see it light up and be like, yep, we've received your call. Like, I mean, we don't even do like regular testing. We don't have procedures in place for, you know, like
Mhm.
there isn't even like nobody's come out with
Okay.
protocol saying, yeah. So I just think that it'd be good to
So
adopt.
there's a
protocol.
lot going on here, John. Obviously, this is beyond just this one department or this one committee. I think that this is something that we've talked about for a long time now. Nothing's happened around it, whether it's about raising up the counter space at Michelle's office or all of those pieces. I think this is an issue for the safety committee. I think it's something that needs to be led out of Ismet's office with the safety committee. It really just can't be this committee or if you certainly have ideas of what you want to put into a code of conduct, I think we need to do that. John, the separate piece of this, and Laura and I have discussed it at length, Clark has been very helpful, is the online aspect of this, which, you know, is a little bit like the pot calling the kettle black, because there's some people that I'm looking at are engaged in this, but that the online aspect, when now we're having contractors and others who are presenting projects to the town being attacked online and all kinds of those pieces, where now these people who might want to do business with the town are kind of throwing their hands up and saying, what's going on here? So Laura's very concerned about that piece of it as well. Needless to say, I am, John. When you get more details about some of what this is, you are going to be as well, because you know the folks involved. So I think there's a big overarching thing that we probably, or somebody can probably take on here. And I appreciate Laura's initiative here, and Clark as well. Jeannie's been very helpful and vocal as well here. So, because they are on the front line, but it's not just this department.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, our department should have been the first to press the panic button, but I mean, the panic button was pressed. I mean, for sure, it was very alarming. So,
And I think the aspect of the safety committee, because then we can integrate some sort of protocols, you know, I don't want to equate it to that, but schools do active shooter. Obviously, this police department does that. Some sort of active training where I don't know if it needs to be once a month, but quarterly or, you know, biannually, to try to get
Well,
that done.
I agree, and I think we actually did. There was some type of public safety audit done on town hall as a result of a back door being used or not being used, right?
Yeah,
That
that was a
wasn't that
critically
long
important
ago.
issue. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Geez, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
thank
again,
you.
I think it's our responsibility as the elected leaders, John, to make sure that these people who come here every day are safe. They feel safe and they feel supported. And so Laura and Clark and Jeannie and everybody being able to at least tell us what's going on here and then people taking next steps. I know Ismet is very concerned and very involved in it. So
Yeah.
Ismet, is it most appropriate for your office to try to develop some sort of protocols and then work with the safety committee to an action plan?
Absolutely. Actually, I've already started working on it and talking to a few experts. After I saw Laura's email, other places they have like, big boards where they are talking about what the expected code of conduct is. But there are many, many more things that we can do, and because it's a priority right now.
Yeah.
Tempers are flaring up as it is because of COVID, because of some other things recently, especially for the town. So we are going to lead this very, very quickly.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
are
very well.
organizations that can come in and train you
Bless
and
you.
evaluate you, and that might be something the town might.
Dart,
wanna
that
look
would be
at.
fantastic if you can get us any information, or if we just have to Google it, but that's
No,
exactly
no,
what
we
we
can-
need,
I'll
right?
Get you some information on it.
Perfect. That's absolutely it. Because why are we trying to reinvent the wheel here? It's already going on. And as we see on this agenda, it's a very busy department. Michelle is very busy. Like all these folks are just very busy just trying to do their jobs. So thank you, Dart. That would be great.
Yeah, no, and if you get a professional in, they're gonna be able
The
to
emotion comes out of
expedite
it, yeah.
And, do the appropriate training. I don't think we should sit on this at all. I think this is really critical.
Yeah, and Ismat did reach out to me right away and said that she was going to work on that for us, so I appreciated that.
Very well. Well, thank you all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for listening.
And John, I'll brief you on all of these things later
Yeah,
today.
that's
Okay.
very disconcerting.
Yeah, it should be.
So the second thing, at the last town board meeting, we had a resolution to switch our CCA administrator from Mega to Jewel. And in the interim between that resolution and now, I received a call from several of the people that are on the Capital District Steering Committee who said, in fact, that the Capital District Steering Committee, it has a different name now. The majority of the people inside of it aren't switching to Jewel. And I think right now we would be the only one switching to Jewel, and then we would just be 7,000 meters and we wouldn't be able to move forward with our CCA.
So this is what I thought was actually happening here, because I have familiarity with Mega forever. I never got the sense that Mega was giving up this book of business. So
yeah, every time we talk CCA, there's like a new layer, right? Because
okay.
Mega
Why
is
don't
the
we just
one
have a
that,
conversation with Mega?
yeah, well,
Okay.
okay, but Mega is the one that said switch to Jewel. That's why it was so confusing to me. Like the
Okay.
people who email us the contracts and stuff, their ending email is mega.org or whatever. But I guess there's different things inside of Mega and stuff like that. So I think as long as I know the supervisor said she's willing to not sign until we get it all sorted out. And I think actually we may end up rescinding that and then doing a different resolution where we stay with what everybody else is doing in the Capital District Steering Committee. Just have to make a few more calls to make sure that's okay. But I know Yasmin had some concerns on timeline, and we're not missing any timelines. I think we just want to make sure that we're doing what everybody else is doing and it's the right thing for green energy and stuff like that. But it is really confusing because Mega has a contractor out of Chicago or something that is the one that's trying to move everything over to Jewel.
Okay.
The third one is probably just because I know Denise has talked to Clark and I about this, and there was an article in the newspaper that the Mohawk Golf Club has been having discussions with the neighbors and some conceptual plans about development. And we just wanted to make sure that it was clear on the record that nothing's been submitted to the town, and so there's no formal process for this. But there is some information out there. There was a newspaper article. We're willing to work with. We have a list of questions from neighbors. Clark and I are working on to make sure that the neighbors understand what the rules are and want to continue working with the golf course on any questions that they have as well. So if you guys have any questions about it, let us know, but nothing formal, just a lot of information going back and forth, and some, as information goes, some of it good and some of it not accurate. So we'll be working on
And
that.
they've been throwing this around for 6 or 7 years now, and nothing has happened. But it might be a little bit more serious now because there is new ownership and a lot of money's been invested, and now with the maintenance building and the like. But yeah, this is really nothing new as far as a conceptual idea, but it's got a long way to go.
So, John, as we discussed, I'm just going to remind you, so the Laura encouraged the contractor, the owner, Mike Rutherford, to start to communicate at least what his thoughts are. So he had the meeting a month ago now at the Mohawk Club. I attended that. The ballroom was 3/4 filled, John.
Yes,
And
it was buzzing, I hear.
Yep. And he presented 3 different, Mike wasn't there, his contractor was there.
Mhm.
And he presented 3 different options. At that meeting, because that meeting was, a lot of information was shared online about that and on social media. It was really directed for the Ruffner Road folks, but the country club folks also joined.
Mhm.
And there were just a lot of questions about where we go from here. Ruffner, Country Club, Row, those 3 neighborhoods.
But
And
there's still no actual plan.
there were 3 different concepts presented. He had like 3 different boards. And so one was 16
Mhm.
single family homes. Another was condos, X number of condos, 60 or something like that condos, and then 130 apartment units. My numbers might be a little bit off, but there was
Mm.
small, medium, and then a much larger
Mhm.
number of residents.
Yeah, I think it was probably small single family homes, medium townhomes.
Yes.
Um,
And apartments was the big number.
probably condos. I don't think he's ever did he say apartment? It was probably small was sorry. I mean, it's all conceptual, but I don't think I've ever
Townhouse
said
type of
apartment.
things. And Laura, how many single-family resident homes can they put there under our current zoning laws?
Well, so under the current zoning laws, the entire property is
Golf
zoned
course.
R1. So, I mean, it would depend on if they wanted to compromise the golf course or not. You could probably fit 250 homes on there if the whole thing got developed. But
Right.
if they were just taking little pieces of it that don't have golf course on it, you know, those pieces are much smaller. I think they really identified like 2 pieces, one on the Ruffner roadside and one on the Balltown roadside. There was an application for the Balltown roadside a couple years ago. But every time we talk to them, we keep emphasizing this. I think it would be really important for them to come up with a comprehensive plan, speaking to our next item on our agenda, where like they really can identify what they need to develop, what they need to be sustainable for, 20, 30 long term in our
Yes.
community, so that we can all be on the same plan and try and actually make the remainder of the zoning some kind of recreational commercial or something that we've talked about in our comprehensive plan. Because for that entire parcel to be zoned R1, that's a huge chunk of land in the middle of the town of Niskuna, which we
It
identified
is.
actually in multiple iterations of our comprehensive plan, to try and preserve that as open space at golf course as we can.
That would be the top priority.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
actually, I
as-
think it's the whole parcel is like 200 acres.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So it's a substantial part. And, if that were to be completely developed, I think it would pose a lot of hardships on the community in the way of traffic, development density. It'd be a major loss for the town.
Huge, yeah. So I think we'll work something out. I think that makes sense, and keeping it in open space and trying to keep some type of development, that's not obtrusive, keeping in mind that we could lose the whole gem, right?
Right. So then the other piece of this is Ruffner Road and the home that Mike purchased there and what that means for the Ruffner Road folks. So then they had a subsequent meeting last Wednesday at one of the homeowners' living rooms, and they had probably about 40 people there. And they presented their initial list of questions to the entire group and then solicited more input from them. And the original meeting at the Mohawk Club was maybe a rolling boil, and this was a little more simmering, a little more sizzling, shall I say. There are a number of them within the group who are becoming increasingly agitated, quite concerned, and and want the town to take some sort of definitive action. And all of us, state our positions and that we're opposed and all of these things. So there's a lot of concern out there. There's a lot of, the emotions are running very, very high around this one as well, John.
I understand that, and that it always is the case, and I just hope that, and I will try to do a better job of having everybody in the town realize that we just can't say no, right? There's certain legal development that they can do that we can't say no to, and that is always would be their option if we do say no to everything else. So, understanding that, there's got to be some type of an agreement and compromise that really is in the town's best interest to do. But I completely understand Ruffin Road and that surrounding area's concerns because, their environment is going to change in some way, shape, or form, it looks like. But hopefully we can do that in a manner that, isn't as intrusive or obstructive as, as losing the whole property would be, or losing 5 or 6 holes of it, or 9 holes of it would be.
Hey, John.
But we'll get there. We
John,
always seem to.
I think we should look at this and perhaps maybe talk to Paul about this, because I don't know if, I think there are options for the town. I think that other towns within New York State have taken actions with a similar situation and have been successful about it. So, I think we need to take the pulse of the residents, see how they feel, and take the best action. But I don't think we should go in with this with an attitude that, we can't be successful here. And I think, we actually, the town has a fairly strong argument that we could basically say no here in this situation.
And, Paul Briggs
And
said,
make it parkland?
I'm sorry?
To make it parkland?
No, to make it commercial,
Recreation.
recreational. And that is a zone tool that other communities in New York State have used to preserve golf courses under the pressure of development. I'm not suggesting that that may not be the best solution this particular parcel, but it's certainly worth looking into.
well, I think we need to understand all of the
Yeah,
options,
that's
right?
okay.
Yeah. So I think, Dart, it's very well said. And Paul Briggs, I know you have begun to look at this. He understands. We spoke at length after the Wednesday night thing on Ruffner Road about, all the legal research that this is going to require. And I think then there's going to be a variety of options that people are going to have to consider, John, certainly led by you.
Okay, well, I look forward to it. What do we have next?
Okay, so we talked about this at the last meeting, the Niskuna comprehensive plan. Like, I think probably Clark and I will need to put together some kind of a idea for soliciting people to be on a comprehensive plan board and outline what exactly we need to do. But I think we're aiming for like potentially ramping up, in January of 2022, on the next round of comprehensive plan. And then we have a proposed 2022 meeting calendar, which I will email you guys out at the end of this meeting. So take a look at the dates and get back to me on any of them if there's something that we missed. So we'll put the final calendar on there for approval at the end of December. Just G is just the normal added member vacancies. It's really not terrible. We can carry most of these vacancies, but if there's anybody that's interested, we still pretty much have openings on all of our boards, 1 or 2. I don't have any updates on the Knott Street area improvement progress, except I think I said this at a different meeting. We did meet with Mr. Nicky about some of the ideas he has for the area between Clifton Park and Crescent. So I haven't heard anything from the county, but there may be some things that we can do or a developer can do to help that area. For planning board, just quickly, the Mohawk Club maintenance building, which has nothing to do with all the discussion we just had. It's just a nice maintenance building upgrades so that they can continue to maintain the golf course, was approved at the last planning board meeting. We also approved the changes to the outdoor storage at Ace Hardware. The tree councils met with them a couple times on updating their landscaping plan and helping with the facade of the building, and that was approved. Hickory Farms, I know you announced this at the town board meeting, John. Hickory Farms is working on going in down at the Mohawk Commons. It's a temporary thing. I think they just go in for the Christmas for the holiday season. But they've got their building permits or working on getting their building permits for that. And then Clark's been working pretty hard on renovations to Taco Bell. They have kind of an interesting 10-year cycle where they kind of revamp their whole building. And they've got a proposal to change the facades there. I think it's cleaner and it ends up being slightly less signage, right, Clark? Scheduled for our next planning board meeting on Monday. And we also have a lot line adjustment approval scheduled for Monday. Ongoing things, we still have the Eastern Parkway mixed-use building that you guys granted a special use permit for. The engineering has taken a little while on that, but I believe they submitted an engineering package here a couple days ago, which will go to the planning board on Monday. And then still working on, these are just still conceptual plans really for 20 townhomes between CVS and CWRGB there on that triangle of Balltown Road and Van Antwerp. CAC had a long discussion about it on Monday. That's another one where it's like, well, it could be single family homes. That's what's outright allowed, but is there more benefit to making them townhomes? So the planning board's been looking at different designs. They have a new design on that one, which spaces the buildings a little farther apart. We have an application, we'll see how far it goes, potentially for an orchard on 2733 Rosendale Road. That's kind of a long-term application project that we'll work with the homeowners on. And then Rivers Ledge has two parts to the PUD. If you guys remember, when the PUD went to the town board, it was 260 units, 160 apartment units, which were approved by the planning board and are currently under construction now. And then 100 senior living units along Aqueduct Road with some commercial space there. Phase 1 was it's the more northern part, closer to the river. Phase 2 is the senior living and commercial space. And the developer has submitted a proposal for phase 2. So it's going to be the first time that the planning board's seen it on Monday. CAC did get a look at it real quick this Wednesday, but I think they've scaled it back to 60 senior units and still some commercial space there, but not a lot. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. If anybody has any questions on that, I can send you the plan. And then real quickly, Market 32's adding some, Target did this too. It's sort of like pickup lanes, direct parking, directional signage in their building at Mohawk Commons. And the Brookdale Senior Living Center is trying to work on a permanent storage solution. They've had a couple of cases before the zoning board to have pods for longer than is allowed during COVID, but it may be that they just always need a storage solution that's going to last a little longer. So they're, I think, approaching the planning board for that. Did I miss anything? Nope. 4 cases scheduled for November on the zoning board. Still working on the grants. I think River Roads Parks final invoicing was submitted. We just have to get the engineer to sign off on that.
And for River Road, you're talking about softball too?
Yeah, the softball.
Okay,
invoices.
so where are you in follow-up to the meeting we had with Mike Rogers?
So I'm waiting for the engineer on that. Actually, I sent Mike Rogers questions to the engineer, and I also sent the final invoice to the engineer, and I'm hoping that he'll get back to me shortly for both of them, both those things, so that we can get back to they're all kind of tied together, because obviously if there is some stuff outstanding, then we don't want to pay the final invoice. So he's checking on all of that for me. Complete Streets, still working on the sidewalks and the school zones. Didn't have too much update. They've also been working pretty hard on some of the planning board plans. They had some successes. They got the developers to connect some sidewalks in the conceptual plans for the townhomes, and had a couple other good comments on some of the planning board proposals. The tree council had a fall foliage contest, and we ended up getting 59 submissions total. So that's pretty awesome. And we are just tallying up the votes for them, and then we'll get to people, the winners, and then we want to post them on our website and maybe do one more email blast thanking everybody and showing people the winners of the photo contest. But really beautiful pictures. It was very fun. I like that a lot. The trees were successfully planted at Napa Court, and I know Denise was able to attend Andrea Worthington's memorial tree. It was a Dawn Redwood that we planted at Aqueduct Park, and it was lovely, and that went very successful. So I wanted to thank Denise for coming to that and reading that to her. Nice. CAC has been working really hard on some of the planning board projects I talked to you about. Still working on the signs for pesticide-free lawn. Again, the natural resource inventory is going well because the grant was received. And then I've been working with Highway on finalizing the Lomo area in Blatnick Park this fall. So they've been really helpful. The Climate Smart Communities Task Force, I do have an update here. The stretch code adoption was submitted to the state. So hopefully we should be able to adopt it here by the end of December, or potentially January 1st might work very well for an adoption date. And then one of the things that came from re-establishing contact with the CCA people is that they knew of some subcommittees and things that were already working on the geothermals and the EV vehicle bulk purchases. So we may be able to jump on with some of that and see if because again, we've talked about that before. If we get a certain number of our residents to sign up for that, we get a rebate from NYSERDA. So rebates are always good. Clark already talked about his architectural review. Do you want to add anything to what you said? You covered it. We thought maybe we would have a break with drainage complaints, but it continues to rain. Maybe now that it's frosty, it'll be a little better. And I thank the engineering department for working with us on that. But the building department's been very busy with people's just general concern of how wet their backyards are. But I have to say, our new engineer up there in Matt's office, Dan, put together a slide of how much more rain we've gotten this year versus last year versus a 3-year average. And I mean, we're almost 10 inches over what we got for a 3-year average. It's a lot. We've been getting a lot of rain. And then I will keep the Console Road sidewalk on until we are able to resolve it. Just construction updates. I'm sure everybody drives by Kelt's Farm every once in a while. I mean, they are really working hard over there. We've got a majority of the utilities in, I think, and working on the road. Upstate Guns and Ammo has been to the ARB a couple times. They're working on the facade windows to make sure that looks nice because it's adjacent to the residential neighborhoods. Matt and Clark have been working on a water line agreement, and Paul Briggs. And again, the Broken Inn has really got some beautiful furniture and stuff on the inside. I still haven't heard a firm opening date from him, but I think he's getting much closer. It's looking really nice over there. And then for legal,
Yeah, I spoke with the owner of the building, and he said he's really coming a long way, and he's been very actively working on it. And he's not sure, hasn't really heard anything about a soft opening, but he seems to be pretty close to it.
We had a little tour a week or two ago, and he said pretty close to Thanksgiving was a possibility. So probably between
Excellent.
Thanksgiving and the end of the year.
and it's very nice.
Excellent.
It's all wood on the inside. It's really, really nice.
Mm.
And then for legal, we just thought it might be helpful because I know we talked about this at budget, like how much work, we're requesting of the legal department. It's a lot. Like when we had a deputy town attorney, I think we were about 25% of their time. So just to give you an idea of some of the things that we constantly harass the legal department about, like we have 4 cases scheduled for court on lack of action for building issues. There's at least 4 queued up for submittal to court that we're working on informations for. Like Paul Briggs has been working on this water line extension agreement. We've got a thick packet of easements and roads for Harmon Grove that have to be adjusted and changed based on what was built out there. And that takes a lot of time. It's hard. And we've also had several condemnation of homes recently that are just very legally intensive processes. And it's been taking a lot of time. So we just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things that we've been working with the legal department on, and that it's a heavy workload for them.
Do you know how many condemned we have now total, Laura?
I mean, it depends on if, so some homes have been condemned for a while, like over a year to 2 years.
Mhm.
The recent
Several, right?
condemnations are a little bit harder because they've been not for exterior issues, for interior issues. And so that becomes like difficult if the people who, still want to go back inside. But I would say like offhand, we probably have, I guess maybe 7 to 8 homes on currently condemned.
Yeah. And 4 or 5 that have been there for a while, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
The 2 most recent ones are the ones that are the most legally intensive ones. But yeah, there are some that are still out there that have had, like, a house will get condemned sometimes if like a sewer backs up into the basement. And if it's a vacant home, it's going to be condemned at that point because they have to show that they've created sanitary conditions and things like that.
Mhm.
And some of them they actually get condemned if National Grid and shuts the gas and electricity off because it's not livable. So people can't go in and live in the home if there's no heat. But those can be more vacant homes, the long-term problems that we have.
Thank you.
And I see Dennis. I'm not going to put him on the spot. We are going to continue working on the historic preservation codes. But I think that's probably, I'm guessing, something that we'll take up again in the new year, just because of everything that's going on. Unless you had anything you wanted to add, Dennis.
No, all I'll add is it's another thing that's in the legal at the legal office. So it's one more harassment, I guess. But yeah, we'll keep working on it. Right.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis.
Okay, very well. Is there anything else for the good of the order? If not, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any opposed? Enjoy your weekend, all.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Clark.
Thank you.